In the late autumn of 1987, a veteran utility worker in Wexford County, Michigan, climbed down from a service pole, packed his tools, and drove his truck into a ditch. He didn't crash. He just stopped driving. When state troopers found him 3 hours later, the engine was still idling, the headlights were cutting through the fog, and the man was staring into the tree line. He hadn't blinked for so long his eyes were bleeding. Everyone knows the pop culture myth of the Michigan Dogman, the catchy radio songs, the local folklore, the campfire stories. But the media lied to you. This isn't a regional ghost story. As we speak, active, identical reports exist in 47 states. It stands 7 feet tall on digitigrade hind legs. It possesses human-like shoulders, and it is tracking you through the wood line right now. So why has a phenomenon this massive been scrubbed into total silence? To understand why this creature outpaces almost every other modern cryptid in search data, you have to understand the mathematics of human denial. When people see something that defies the established taxonomy of North America, they try to force it into a familiar box. They call it a mangy bear. They call it a misidentified wolf. But a bear cannot run at 45 miles per hour on 2 legs. Let's look at the institutional logistics. If an apex predator, one that combines the sheer muscle mass of a grizzly with the hyper-intelligent pack tactics of a canine, actually existed across 47 states, the logging industry would collapse overnight. The tourism boards of our national parks would go bankrupt. The government doesn't need to cover up a monster. They just need to classify the disappearances as accidental exposure to the elements. Think about the liminal spaces, the places where the pavement ends and the federal land begins. Have you ever noticed how, on certain back roads, the state police presence vanishes entirely? They aren't avoiding the speeders. They're avoiding the tree line. Let's ignore the sensationalized internet forums. Let's look at a report from July 2014, buried in the backlogs of an Ohio County Sheriff's Department. The witness wasn't a teenager looking for internet fame. She was a 42-year-old logistical dispatcher named Evelyn Vane. Evelyn was driving home via Route 68 when her radiator blew. Standard breakdown. She pulled onto the shoulder, directly adjacent to an abandoned farmstead. She didn't hear a growl. She didn't smell sulfur. What caught her attention was the absence of sound. The crickets in the cornfield didn't just stop chirping. It was as if the air itself had lost its density. Then came the wait. When we look at a dog, we see domestication. When Evelyn looked at the roof of that barn, she saw a creature that looked back at her with an expression of profound, predatory intelligence. It didn't act like an animal. It didn't lunge. It simply crouched on the roofline, its massive, muscled arms resting on its knees, watching her fumble with her cell phone. It was amused. Why are younger generations searching for this entity at a rate that eclipses Bigfoot by nearly 3 to 1? Because Bigfoot represents a relic of the past. A passive, herbivorous giant hiding in the deep woods of the Pacific Northwest. He wants to be left alone. The Dogman is different. The Dogman is aggressive. It thrives in the suburbs. It is reported in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Texas. It adapts to human encroachment because it doesn't fear us. We live in an era of total surveillance. Satellites can read a golf ball from orbit. Ring doorbells line every street. And yet, this thing moves through our green belts and state parks completely uncaptured on high-definition video. That isn't a failure of technology. It's a feature of the creature's behavior. Every primary account notes the same detail. The creature knows what a camera is. It knows what a rifle is. If you point a lens at it, it steps behind a trunk. If you raise a barrel, it drops to all fours and vanishes into the brush before your finger can find the trigger. It understands our tools better than we understand its anatomy. If you look at the official state wildlife maps, 47 states officially claim to have no breeding populations of large bipedal carnivores. Yet, every year, thousands of livestock mutilations are filed under feral dog packs. But feral dogs don't tear a 300-pound iron gate off its hinges to get to a herd. Feral dogs don't leave tracks where the heel impression is 6 inches deep, sinking into packed clay that a human boot barely mars. The next time you're driving down a dark highway or sitting on your back porch near a patch of woods, pay attention to the silence. If the birds stop, if the wind dies, if you get that sudden, evolutionary urge to lock your door, don't look for a bear. It already knows you're inside.